Now that the chore of cleaning up after a big snowstorm is over, let's head inside and check out my calendar images for my 2020 calendar. The January image in my 2020 calendar comes from the Grand Marais Harbor. You can see the sun setting behind the lighthouse. There's broken ice on the lake, and you see piles of ice up on the shoreline. In January, on the cold nights that are calm, the harbor will often freeze completely, and then when the waves pick up, it'll break up that ice and push it up on shore. That's what happened in this picture. February's image comes from one of my favorite places to shoot on Lake Superior. It's an island near Grand Marais. In the summer, it becomes a tombolo. The shoreline ends up building up between the mainland and the island, connecting those, and that connector is the tombolo. But in winter, it's often just an island. It's best for sunrises in winter because the sun tends to rise directly behind it from one of the best vantage points. And here you see the waves washing over the rocks in the foreground. The long exposure blurs the waves so that they look like just white water. Makes for a calm and peaceful image. For March, I've included an image from Lake Superior near Grand Marais. You see a cobblestone beach and the sunset. Small waves wash up on the shore. The snow that usually accumulates on these cobblestones has been washed away by the waves throughout the winter. It's like the perfect sunset. It doesn't get any better than this. In April, the icy grip of winter starts to give way to the waterfalls of spring. This waterfall at Gooseberry State Park is one of my favorite, and I love the juxtaposition of the cedar trees in the foreground, just still and calm as can be, and then the rushing water being blurred by the long exposure in the background. For this image, I used a filter that I designed with Stingray filters. It's called the Brian Hansel Waterfall Polarizer. I hope you enjoy this one. Watching the sunrise in May over Lake Superior near Split Rock Lighthouse is one of the things that you should put on your schedule. The air is still chilly, the water is just 33 degrees. It's brisk. But when that sun breaks the horizon, it starts to warm up instantly. And that's what happened here. It was a cold morning. My fingers were frozen. And then that sun started to come up and it warmed me up. And I made this image. For June, we journeyed to Devil Track Lake near Grand Marais. It's sunset. The clouds are moving in, and we can't quite see the sun disk anymore, but there's just enough color in the sky to light it purple and orange and yellow and cast those reflections onto the calm water of Devil Track Lake. This time of year, it's when the reeds just first start popping out of the water and growing. And there's a little bit of wind, and you can see the tips of those reeds blowing in the wind. For July's image, we journey into the Boundary Waters. This is Seagull Lake, and it's at sunset. We'd been camping nearby and decided to hightail it out and go get some ice cream. But when we got to this campsite, we were surprised it was open, so we stopped, relaxed, went for a swim, and then decided to stay for the evening. And we were rewarded with this sunset. I hope that the image brings you with me into the Boundary Waters so that you can experience what it feels like to be there. And I hope that you get the opportunity to visit there at some point. It's really one of the best places in the world that I've ever been. For August, we journey down the shoreline of Lake Superior from Grand Marais to the little town of Silver Bay. We watch the sunrise over Lake Superior and behind a small island from a rock face near Black Beach. The angle of this rock face catches the sunrise light perfectly, and everything is painted in a pink and purple shade. The sunrise only lasted for about a minute, so I was lucky to have been in place waiting for the sun to pop over that horizon so that I could capture it, because I knew the color wouldn't last long. Once that sun dipped back behind the cloud structure, it was all over and everything turned gray. But for that moment, just that short moment of time, it was beautiful. September brings fall colors to the North Shore. There are a ton of gravel roads that you can drive down and drive through, maple canopies turning yellow and sometimes red. In 2019, we had an extremely yellow year, and the maple canopy near Lutzen was stunning, vibrant. It's hard to describe. I hope that this picture does it justice. Fall color on the North Shore lasts through mid-October, and that's when the snow tends to start. So you get this mixture of snow and fall color, fog. It gets very, very moody. And I was hoping to capture that feeling in this image. So you can see the snow being blown sideways across the fall color, and then in the background you see all the trees coated completely white. And it's whiteout conditions. You can barely see beyond the tree line to the next. For November, we journey back to the tombolo that we had earlier in the calendar. Typically, I don't include the same location twice in one calendar, but this image was stunning, and I felt like it really needed to be in the calendar. The sun is rising behind the island, the waves are crashing up onto the basalt, and then the sunlight is reflected across the rock and through the water. It was my favorite sunrise of last fall, and I'm glad I get to include this in the calendar. For the final image in the 2020 calendar, we go to George Washington Pines, which is near Grand Marais, Minnesota. I was teaching a photography workshop when I took this, and it's an image that a lot of my students have seen. They really like the vertical pine trunks surrounding the spruce tree in the distance. They want to get that shot for themselves. So on this occasion, it was nice and snowy, everything was calm, and the image worked out perfectly. And I had 10 happy students who also walked away with a similar image. It's a great image to end the calendar with because it looks like a holiday card. And this is my card to you. I hope you have a great holiday season, and I appreciate you purchasing my calendar. That wraps up this review of my 2020 calendar. I hope you enjoyed the images. And if you want to purchase one, you can always get it at brianhansel.com/calendar. So I'm going to head outside and go skiing and enjoy all this fresh snow. And I hope you do the same. And I'd really appreciate any calendar purchases you make. Otherwise, have a great year. We'll see you in the new year.